So, hello everyone. We're back with another ex-vegan interview. This is Caitlin, and she's going to start with her story.
All right. So, in December 2011, I came home for Christmas break from college, and my dad had been having a lot of heart problems. So, he read How to Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease and a China study. And he was very into it, wanting everyone else in the family to read those books. So I eventually agreed to read the China study, and it changed everything for me because at that point was kind of lost when it came to diet. I had had an eating disorder for the past few years, and it made so much sense to me, especially all the science behind it. I was just at that point thinking, everyone's supposed to be eating a plant-based diet. It's the healthiest for all of us. So I decided on January 1st, 2012 to go completely vegan. I went back to school. At that time, I was going to school in the U.S. Virgin Islands on St. Thomas. And I, at first, was mostly doing it for health or just completely doing it for health. But once I started like watching YouTube videos and following people, and then I eventually saw Earthlings, I saw the animal rights aspect of it, and that was big for me. I can remember spending like 2 weeks in my room just watching slaughterhouse footage and just crying about it and feeling so upset about it. And at that moment, I decided, like, I need to do something. I ordered a bunch of leaflets from a bunch of, like, I don't remember if it was PETA or not, but animal rights activist people. And in St. Thomas, every time I went to the beach, I was bringing leaflets with me, handing them out to random tourists on the beach, going in front of Costulas, which is a grocery store there, and handing out leaflets by myself. I was so passionate about it, but it was all because I felt that this was the healthiest way we were supposed to be. And I felt like not only were we just needlessly harming animals because we didn't need meat and we weren't supposed to be eating meat or animal products. So around that time, I had been a collegiate volleyball player, a Division I volleyball player, and I was kind of getting back into volleyball down there in St. Thomas, and I was chosen to represent the Virgin Islands in beach volleyball. And I hadn't trained for a while, but I mean, with volleyball, your skills always come back to you. But it was so different going into training this time. I remember I was training exactly how I used to train. I had for 10 years trained in volleyball with weightlifting and plyometrics and gotten like very athletic. And this time when I started training, I wasn't getting any results. I can remember thinking that I must have messed up my body with the eating disorder, that's why it wasn't getting stronger. And like with volleyball, you really need to have like explosiveness and be able to be quick and be able to jump. And I remember I felt like my vertical jump was like 5 inches. Like it was so much different. Like I just didn't feel, when I was lifting weights, my muscles weren't reacting to it. I was overweight and I couldn't lose the fat. So we ended up doing a tournament in the Dominican Republic, and I can just remember feeling so embarrassed. Like I didn't feel comfortable wearing a bikini playing volleyball. I didn't feel like the athlete that I used to be. I just felt like I had the skills, but I didn't have I didn't have the explosiveness and the quickness that I needed to play at the level that I knew I could play at. And at this point, the veganism was the cause of this never crossed my mind, because I was seeing all these other vegan athletes, and I was thinking, like, if they can do it, of course everyone can do it. Like, there's no way that it's veganism that's making it so I can't reach the levels that I used to reach. So I kind of, at that point, gave up a little bit on volleyball. I was just like, well, maybe it's that I'm getting older. Maybe it's because of my eating disorder. I don't know why, but I'm not doing good at this anymore. So I just kind of gave up on that. And around November, December that year, I found Freelee. And since she had come from an eating disorder too, and she had gotten such good results, I decided I'm going to follow her. She obviously knows what she's doing. So I literally was eating 30 bananas a day. Like, in St. Thomas, like, it was so hot. I had a roommate there. My whole cupboard was filled with like 100 bananas, and there was fruit flies all over the place. And I was like literally eating 30 bananas a day. So that's like 3,000 calories of bananas. I just started gaining more weight. I started gaining more fat. I had less energy to exercise. That next, like maybe January or February, I tried to get into CrossFit, and that was a disaster. I was doing the 30 bananas a day, and like, I knew how to do the lifts and stuff. Like, I knew the form because I had lifted for so long, but my body reacted so badly to that. I maybe did it for a month, and I was just like, well, maybe yoga is better for my body. Um, so that was 2013, and I continued with like 30 bananas a day and raw till 4 for like 2.5 years. I like went back and forth. I felt like raw was the best, but I never felt satisfied. I was eating salads like this big, and I was eating the whole thing, and afterwards my stomach felt full, but I still didn't feel satisfied. I was drinking 12 banana smoothies. I would drink it all and I still wouldn't feel satisfied. But
Mm-hmm.
I kept on going with it because Freelee always talked about metabolic damage, and I thought that I had damaged my body so much through this eating disorder that it was going to take me years to be able to get my body right again. So I just kept going and thinking, like, it won't be that much longer. My body's going to heal, and then I'll get the results that I want. But like, this whole time, I was very overweight. I had no energy. I felt terrible. I felt really self-conscious about my body too, because when you tell people you're raw vegan, they don't expect you to like be overweight the way I was. So so that fall, I started reading the Mucusless Diet Healing System, and that made a lot of sense to me with like enemas and fasting. So I started doing that, getting more into that. That confused me more because that talks a lot about mucus forming foods, and like avocados are supposedly mucus forming, and rice, and like a lot of foods I had been eating were mucus forming. So I was trying to cut some of those foods out. I was just like, I had no idea what I was doing. And after that, I was still kind of following raw till 4 and raw vegan off and on until I got pregnant with my son. And that was in April of 2015. As soon as I got pregnant with him, I got so sick. Like, I couldn't eat anything. I ended up losing about 20 pounds. And I remember thinking at that point, I can't believe that I was following this diet for so long. All that I was just overeating for all those years, because as soon as I stopped eating so much, the weight came right off. And I mean, I don't know exactly why I got sick, but maybe my body just needed to lose that weight to like have a healthy pregnancy. Um, and I was throughout this time sure that veganism was the healthiest diet, so I was convinced that I needed to have a vegan pregnancy, even though I was so sick and I was craving eggs and I was craving steak. It wasn't an option for me at the time. I was so in this mindset that veganism was the healthiest diet. I was watching all of Ellen Fisher's videos. I read um, How to Create Healthy Children by Karen Ramsey, and she really promotes a raw vegan diet. So I was trying to be raw with some cooked foods too, but felt sick the whole pregnancy, like really terribly, terribly nauseous the whole time. And then when my son was born, he was born very healthy, thankfully. And as soon as he was born, I knew that in my mind, still believe that veganism was the healthiest. So I decided that until he could choose for himself, I was going to feed him a vegan diet. And this also got a lot of, when I shared stuff about this on the internet, a lot of vegans would get upset, like that he would even have a choice when he got older. Like a lot of vegans were getting upset with me, saying that, like, would you give your son a choice to be a murderer, like when he gets older? So I just kind of stopped sharing about that, because I really did know, like, it's kind of like a religion. Like with your child, you want your child to have an open mind and to choose things for themselves. You don't want to like you don't want to raise them with this belief system. You want them to like make their own belief systems, kind of. So I knew that when he got older, he would be able to choose for himself. But I did feed him only vegan foods for his first 3 years of life. But he was drinking breast milk the whole time, so he was getting at least something good from that. And he was healthy the whole time. He never had any teeth problems or was underweight. He was very healthy. So last fall, throughout this time, I've been exercising. I've been trying to get back into lifting weights, really feeling like, man, I missed my prime. Like I feel so different than I used to, like in the gym lifting. I'm just thinking like, wow, I'm so old now. Like I this isn't working. Like, why am I even in the gym? I'm putting all this effort into lifting weights, doing all this hard work, and nothing is happening. My body's staying the same. I'm not getting stronger. My muscles just don't feel the way they used to. So last fall, I just started like questioning everything in my life. Like, am I stuck in any belief system that's like, I just didn't want to be stuck in any way of thinking. I wanted to have an open mind about everything. So I started looking at veganism and seeing if it really aligned with all of my beliefs. And I realized that I didn't feel that there's anything wrong with eating eggs from backyard chickens that are treated well. And I also didn't see anything wrong with eating bivalves like scallops and clams and that kind of stuff. So I just decided, you know what, I'm not going to be vegan anymore. I'm going to get rid of that label and just see what happens. And because throughout this whole time, I was craving eggs. I was vegan for 7 years. I always thought about eggs the whole time. But it ended up taking me 3 months to even try an egg for the first time, because I was so in the mindset that eggs were so unhealthy.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't feel like there was anything wrong with that, I seriously felt like it would be poison for me to eat an egg. But watching like Bobby's perspective and stuff, like he was going through all this at the same time. So I was like, I need to try it. I just need to see how it feels.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I ate eggs for the first time, I felt so much better. It was the first time that I ate a meal and I felt satisfied, like with a regular plate of food and not having to eat a giant bowl of food. I felt my brain felt like it was functioning better. As soon like the first day I ate eggs, my brain felt like it was working better. It felt clearer. I After a few weeks of eating eggs, and I ate eggs every single day after that. I was like, there's something in this I need. I don't understand why, but I can feel it in my body. I need this. So I was eating eggs every single day, and I had been going to the gym like throughout the past 3 months. And then once I started eating eggs, I started noticing that feeling again that I used to get in my muscles when I lifted weights. And as soon as I felt that, I was like, oh my God, have I been doing this to myself for the past 7 years? Like I couldn't believe it, especially like I had given up the sport that I loved, volleyball, for so long because I thought that maybe I was past my prime or I had messed up my body too much from the eating disorder. And when I realized that wasn't true, I was like so happy, but so sad at the same time. Like I did that to myself.
Yeah.
Um, then I started incorporating some fish, and that felt even better, some salmon. And really like everything changed, but like I felt like I was living in a parallel universe. Like everything I thought I knew, I realized I didn't know. And when it comes to my son, of course, he's the most important thing in my life, and I'm going to give him what's best for him no matter what that is. So when I started figuring out this about myself, he started eating eggs, and he loved it. Like from the moment he tried eggs, he has been eating them ever since. He wants them every day. And I mean, I pick him up every day. I know how he feels. I can tell that his
More dense.
feels denser. Yeah, he feels heavier, but like he feels strong.
Solid.
Yeah, he feels more solid. And he's always been a strong kid, but he's so strong now. He's really strong. And I actually, a couple months ago, at that point, I was still like, I didn't feel fully free. I was like dipping my toe in the water. I didn't feel fully free to listen to my body, like what it really wanted. Like all I was thinking about was animal products. That's all I wanted, but I still felt like I couldn't give myself permission to do that. But I ended up talking to Drew Morgan. He was doing like free consultations with people, and
Mm-hmm.
talking to him helped me so much. Like just give myself permission to eat what I really felt my body needed. And since then, I really feel like I need animal products with every meal, like fish a lot, eggs every day, chicken, steak, like everything I'm craving, I'm eating. And it's hard to even put into words. Like I heard in when Tim Sheaf was talking to someone that it made him cry he when he first like felt his muscles. Like
Yeah.
I can understand that so much because that's how I felt. I felt so emotional. And I still do when I can feel my body the way it's supposed to be. And just going to the gym and having energy and wanting to work out instead of like feeling like it's a chore. I feel so much energy to work out. I feel so strong in the gym. Like my muscles have just awakened again. They had been asleep for 7 years, and now they're awake again. And I I just I feel amazing. I feel like a new person.
Yeah, I noticed the density thing with my dog first, so it's funny that you mentioned that. Um, about your son, right?
Hmm.
I noticed that with my dog, and I immediately felt so guilty that I had believed the propaganda that dogs can be on a vegan diet, and like the V dog kibble, the vegan dog food advertisements that are all going around. I noticed the density with myself as well, but I don't pick myself up, so it wasn't as obvious as with my dog. So it's funny that you mentioned the density thing because he only gained, I think on the scale, he only gained about 1 or 2 more pounds, but he felt so much more um, strong, dense, thick, whatever word you want to use. But he didn't get fatter.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And also, my dad has still been following the Eselstein diet. Do you
Hmm.
know the it's like the no oil
No
diet?
salt.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and he got his arteries tested again, and it didn't work. It didn't reverse his heart disease. It
Wow.
actually made his arteries more calcified. So he's really struggling right now because he's been following that diet for like 10 years, and he is just trying to get even more strict with it. But I mean, I don't even know what to tell him because I
He
mean, I
needs foods with K2, animal foods that are high in K2, because K2 removes the calcium from the arteries and puts it back into the bones. Um, Vitamin D and K2, they're like cofactors to tell calcium where it needs to go in the body. So that would probably benefit him the most.
wow, I didn't.
Yeah.
But he's like he's still in the mindset that animal products are bad. So maybe if I can get him to open his mind up to the K2 stuff, that
Yeah, there's a lot of information out there about the K2. I think even Dr. Greger has a video on how K2 and vitamin D take calcium from the arteries and back into the bones, but he doesn't, I don't think he mentions that it's the animal form of K2 because there's several different forms, MK4, MK7. Um, and the natto form the plant-based form hasn't been shown to do that as significantly as the animal-based form. And
wow.
yeah, I don't think your dad was eating natto because most people
No,
don't eat natto because it's disgusting. It's just for like a fermented soybean product.
yeah. Well, my
Yeah.
dad, he actually, after this all happened, he was emailing Dr. Eselstein, and he ended up getting to talk to him on the phone. And he was actually saying it was good that his arteries are getting more calcified because that means that like the plaque won't. He had this reasoning why it was good that there was more calcium. So I don't know if he knows what he's talking about or not.
Your arteries, there should not be calcium in your arteries. Wow, that's interesting. Did he record the conversation? Because that would have been.
He didn't. He didn't.
Think
But
you should get a second opinion.
I know. But you know how when you're so sure about something and you're not really open to seeing other sides of it? I don't know. I really want to be able to help him because I know that he's so stressed out about it and
Hmm.
doesn't know what to do. But I'm going to tell him about the K2 stuff because I don't think he knows anything about that.
Yeah. Yeah, K2 and D3. So I'm not sure what his D3 levels were. Um,
I know he's been supplementing D3, but I haven't heard him say anything about K2.
yeah, K2 really helped me like get rid of a lot of my back pain, my structural back pain in my bones that I was getting from being on the diet so long. I started supplementing with K2 as well as eating K2 rich foods, and my back pain went away within like a couple months.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I ask you a question? Did you supplement with B12?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was supplementing with B12 throughout. I think that's the only thing I supplemented with. Um, but yeah, oh well, I mean when I was pregnant, I took a vegan prenatal too.
Yeah.
But that's it. Um, I think that's all the maybe in the winter I took a little bit of vitamin D, but that's it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to say? Any vegan moms out there? By the way, happy Mother's Day.
Oh,
I'm
thank you so
recording this, it's Mother's Day. I should be uploading it tomorrow.
so nice. I just I mean, it's so easy to watch like Ellen Fisher, her family's so beautiful and they look like they're thriving. I mean, maybe they are thriving. Maybe some people can thrive on the vegan diet, but
Hmm.
it's so important to look inside yourself and feel what feels right to you instead of looking at someone else and and feeling like you need to follow what they're doing,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to vegan and you get into it for ethical reasons. It can be so hard to get out of it. I guess if there is a vegan mother listening to this, I would say that if you're not feeling, if you're questioning your health in any way, you need to try at least eggs and bivalves for your children's sake. Like just in case that veganism isn't the healthiest diet for you, you have to make sure for your kids because we all want what's healthiest for our kids. We all love our kids and want to do what's best for them. So just try to keep an open mind for their sake, if nothing else.
Yeah. Have you seen Vegan Deterioration's videos on Ellen Fisher?
I haven't.
Okay, you should check out her channel, Vegan Deterioration. She has a few videos on Ellen Fisher, and like she's the sweetest woman ever. I love her videos. I watched her a lot too, but I really don't think she's thriving based on the deterioration of her. Like she shows how she looked a bit younger and then how she looks now, and it's not an aging thing. It's a very common signs in vegans when they start to deteriorate, like the sunken in eyes and things like that. um, so yeah, you should check out her videos. She really opened my eyes to the physical features, quote unquote, that happens when you're deteriorating. And yeah, I just think that people get so stuck in the mindset and they want to help the animals so much, and they are genuinely good people. Like she seems like a genuinely good person, but she's so stuck in it that she doesn't realize that she's deteriorating. And I think that when kids are raised vegan, the body learns how to just adapt for survival. It's not necessarily that it's the best or healthiest diet for them, but the body just learns how to adapt.
Yeah,
um, yeah, and I think that people who weren't raised vegan, the body never adapted to that, and so it kind of hits them a little bit harder.
yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Because I have been thinking about that. Like all the vegan children that I've been around have seem so healthy and thriving, and that makes sense that their body has adapted to that because that's what all it's known.
Yeah, and who knows, like there might be some people that can do fine on it. I'm not them. I can't tell other people whether it works for them or not, but the reason why I do these videos and the reason why I really enjoy listening to your story and other people's stories is because I went through the exact same thing. Like as you're telling me your story, I'm nodding my head the whole time like, "Yep, I know what you're feeling. I know, you know what I mean? I know exactly what you went through." And so it's one, therapeutic for me, and two, what snapped me out of it was watching ex-vegan stories and what other people were going through, because I was going through the exact same thing. And
Yeah,
that was the only thing that made me stop eating a starvation diet and start fueling my body again. And so I find it very important to have these case studies, I guess, on the internet so that other people can access this information, because the narrative right now is that veganism is so healthy and everybody can do it. And when you stop being vegan, you just did it wrong, right?
Yeah.
even though clearly from your story and my story and a lot of other people I've had on the channel, they've tried every version of it. Like, you're not feeling your best, you're not feeling optimal, so you try another diet, you try a different version, you try this, you try that, you take a supplement, you listen to another doctor, until it gets to the point where you're so desperate
Yeah.
and you're craving animal food so much that you can't do it anymore.
Yeah. And it's very lonely, like when you're first getting out of it, like all the connections you made that were vegan, like are kind of cut off. So it's like it's so helpful to have these people on the internet like you and Bobby and Drew Morgan that are like saying you're not alone. A lot of people are going through this. Like you can get through it and you're doing the right thing. Like, it's so helpful to hear that.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're feeling a lot better now, because I
Thank
know the feeling. It's like, hallelujah. Because you think your body's failing you, you think there's something wrong with you, you have a disease. Like, no, you're just missing animal products.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like
Yeah.
that's the last thing your mind goes to. You go to all these other crazy things before that.
Hmm. And stories like this prevent people from going longer and suffering longer.
Yeah, I'm so thankful I didn't go longer than 7 years.
Yeah, that's a long time. I only went 4 years and my body fell apart.
So
Yeah.
long.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out to tell us your story,
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
and have a good Mother's Day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.